Marseille, September 10th, 1977. You stand in the shadowed courtyard of Beaumet's prison, the air thick with damp stone and dread. A faint hum from distant streets carries whispers of a world obsessed with Star Wars, lightsabers flashing in theatres, kids dreaming of X-Wings. But here in this grim pocket of France, the guillotine waits its blade gleaming like a cruel anachronism. Hamida Jandoubi, a murderer, faces his final moments, and you're caught in the scene's eerie stillness. The guillotine, a relic of 1792's humane justice, is about to make its last cut. Imagine the irony while Luke Skywalker battles Darth Vader on screens, a real blade prepares to drop. Welcome to 1977, where sci-fi dreams and medieval nightmares collide like a cosmic prank gone bloody. The guillotine looms a 7-foot frame of wood and steel, its 40-kilogram blade suspended like a predator's jaw. You hear the creak of ropes, the faint scrape of metal as executioner Marcel Chevalier adjusts the lunette, the wooden collar that will cradle Jandoubi's neck. The basket below waits to catch what falls wicker stained from decades of use. This isn't the chaotic chop of a medieval axe. It's clinical efficient, a 3-second drop that severs spine from skull. Yet the precision feels obscene, like a surgical strike in a world of disco and punk. You gag on the thought this machine born of revolutionary ideals outlasted vinyl records and typewriters. France's land of liberty kept this beast alive until Star Wars hit theatres. Talk about a plot twist. Jandoubi, shackled, shuffles forward. His crime-murder torture seals his fate, but you can't shake the surreal weight of this moment. The guard's boots echo on cobblestones, a sound sharper than the blade itself. No crowd gathers. 1977's executions are secret, unlike the 18th century spectacles where Parisians picnicked under scaffolds. Yet the silence is heavier, pressing on your chest like a ghost's hand. You imagine the blades hiss the thud into the basket, the blood pooling like spilled ink. It's a horror movie scene, but no director yells cut. This is real, a final act in a prison yard while the world outside chases Jedi fantasies. Sarcasm bubbles up. What's more thrilling, a lightsaber duel or a blade that ends it all in a blink? The guillotine's last use feels like a middle finger to progress. In 1977, France debates abolition, but tradition clings like damp rot. You picture lawmakers arguing, some defending this humane relic, while cinemas screen galactic battles. The contrast is absurd, like streaming a torture flick on a smartphone. Jandoubi's execution, hidden from public view, still feeds a dark fascination humanity's love for spectacle, whether in Colosseum gore or Hollywood blockbusters. You shudder imagining the blade's descent, the finality sharper than any sci-fi laser. This isn't just an execution, it's a time warp dragging medieval brutality into a year of bell-bottoms and space dreams. Like Cher, tell us what's creepier, the guillotine's last slice or the fact it took until 1977 to retire it. Step back to 1792 Paris, where the guillotine's born, heralded as a gift to humanity. You're in a workshop, the air thick with sawdust and revolutionary zeal. Dr. Joseph Ignace Guillotine, a physician with a soft heart, pitches a machine to make death equal, no more botched beheadings for peasants, while nobles get swift swords. His invention promises a clean cut, a democratic end. Sounds noble right. Except you're staring at a prototype, its blade tested on straw-stuffed corpses, blood and hay mingling like a grim stew. Sarcasm alert, nothing screams equality like chopping heads for all. This is the guillotine's origin story, a bizarre blend of compassion and carnage that lingers into 1977's sci-fi haze. The machine's design is chillingly simple: 2 upright beams, a weighted blade, a lunette to lock the neck. You run your fingers along the wood, smooth from countless uses, and flinch at its cold efficiency. Engineers boasted a 3-second drop faster than you can say liberty. In 1793 it devoured heads during the Reign of Terror. Marie Antoinette, Robespierre, thousands more. You picture the blade flashing, crowds roaring like they're at a twisted festival. By 1977, France still uses this relic while Star Wars fans queue for tickets. Modern analogy. It's like clinging to a flip phone in the iPhone era, except this phone kills. The guillotine's mercy feels like a sick joke. Its precision a taunt to the mangled bodies of medieval executions. Testing the guillotine was its own horror show. You're in a 1792 courtyard watching technicians drop the blade on sheep, then human cadaver skulls splitting like overripe fruit. The stench hits you, rotting flesh-iron tang of blood. Scientists nod tweaking angles for a better cut as if crafting a viral gadget. Their logic, a quick death beats the axe's hack or the wheel's crush. Yet you can't shake the dread this machine meant to humanise justice turned death into a production line. By 1977 it's a museum piece that still works slicing Hamida Jandubi, while cinemas glow with Jedi heroics. Dark humour kicks in. Imagine pitching this to Silicon Valley, an app for instant justice battery, not included. The Guillotine's legacy is a paradox. It was born to save, yet became a symbol of terror. You stand in its shadow imagining 1977's Marseille, where the last execution echoes 1792's ideals. France's lawmakers debating abolition still let this blade fall a stubborn nod to tradition. You smirk progress, more like a rerun of history's worst reality show. The machine's efficiency, 40 kilograms of steel and neck severed in a blink, haunts you. It's not just a tool, it's a mirror to humanity's obsession with clean, cruel solutions. Reflect on this while Star Wars sold hope, the Guillotine sold finality, which cuts deeper. Drop a comment, share your creepiest historical fact. Marseille, 1977. You're in Marcel Chevalier's workshop, a dim room reeking of oil and steel where France's last executioner hones his craft. The guillotine's blade, a 40-kilogram slab of death, lies on a workbench, its edge catching the flicker of a bare bulb. Chevalier, a quiet man in his 50s, runs a whetstone across it, the screech slicing through the silence like a banshee's wail. This isn't just a job. It's a family trade passed down like a cursed heirloom. His father, uncle and cousins all wielded the blade, a dynasty of grim reapers in a world buzzing with Star Wars fever. Imagine that while kids clutch Luke Skywalker toys, Chevalier sharpens a tool older than cinema itself. Talk about a career path that's a total vibe killer. You watch him work his hands steady as he polishes the lunette, the wooden collar that locks a neck in place. The routine is methodical, almost tender, like a chef prepping a signature dish. But the dish is death served in 3 seconds flat. Chevalier's life is a paradox. A family man who moonlights as France's final blade master, living in a modest apartment while the world outside grooves to disco. You smell the metallic tang of the blade, feel the workshop's clammy air. It's less a job, more a ritual, each scrape of the whetstone a nod to centuries of justice. Modern analogy. Think of Chevalier as the last admin of a defunct app dutifully maintaining a system everyone else forgot. Except this app drops heads, not notifications. The guillotine's upkeep is obsessive. You picture Chevalier testing ropes, oiling joints, ensuring the blade falls clean. A misstep means a botched execution, a nightmare even for a pro like him. Historical records whisper of his precision. In 1977 he executed Hamida Jandubi flawlessly, the blade slicing through spine like butter. Yet there's no glory here, only whispers of a dying trade. You imagine his evening's dinner with his wife, kids, watching TV while he mentally rehearses the drop. Dark humour creeps in. It's like prepping for a Zoom call where the stakes are well a tad higher. The absurdity hits you in an era of punk rebellion and sci-fi dreams. This man's life revolves around a machine from 1792. What's more punk than that? Chevalier's role ties to humanity's grim fascination with spectacle. Executioners were once celebrities, mobbed by 18th century crowds. By 1977 he works in shadows, his craft hidden from a world chasing Jedi fantasies. You feel the weight of his solitude, the blade's cold edge, mirroring his isolation. The guillotine, a relic of revolutionary ideals, is his burden, a family legacy he can't escape. You smirk, imagine inheriting a guillotine gig like it's a cursed Etsy shop. As Star Wars sells hope, Chevalier sells finality, his craft a bloody footnote in a year of cosmic dreams. Drop a comment, what's creepier, a blade sharpening ritual or a world that kept it alive until 1977, September 10th, 1977, Beaumet's prison, Marseille. You stand outside the prison walls where no crowd gathers, no cheers echo. France's last guillotine execution, Hamida Jandubi's, is a secret cloaked in dawn's grey haze. The air smells of wet stone and salt from the nearby sea. But the silence is deafening, a far cry from the 1790s when Parisians treated guillotine shows like twisted carnivals. Back then, crowds packed squares, kids perched on shoulders, vendors hawking snacks as heads rolled. Now, in 1977, the world's too busy with Star Wars marathons and disco beats to notice a blade's final drop. You feel the eerie disconnect a medieval death machine in a year of moon boots and sci-fi dreams. It's like staging a witch trial during a TikTok livestream. Picture 1793. Paris Place de la Révolution. Blood-soaked cobbles, the guillotine's blade flashing like a grim metronome. You're there jostled by a mob chanting for Marie Antoinette's head, their roars drowning out her last words. The spectacle was raw, addictive humanity's hunger for gore dressed as justice. Fast forward to 1977 and the vibes shifted. Executions are hidden, banned from public view since 1939. Yet whispers of Jandubi's fate leak out, fueling morbid curiosity. You imagine tabloids buzzing, locals speculating over coffee, a shadow of that old crowd lust lingering. Sarcasm kicks in, nothing says modern like executing someone while Star Wars plays next door, right? The secrecy adds a chilling edge. You're outside Baumet's, imagining the guillotine's thud muffled by thick walls. No one sees the blade fall, but you feel its weight like a ghost haunting France's conscience. In the 18th century, executions were theatre. Now they're a dirty secret performed while the world chases Jedi fantasies. You shudder at the contrast lightsabers clash on screen, but here a real blade severs life. Historical records note France's debate over abolition, with some clinging to the guillotine as tradition. You smirk tradition, more like a horror reboot no one asked for. The public's fascination, though never died, swapped for cinema gore and true crime tales. This hidden spectacle ties to the collection's theme, humanity's love for the macabre, whether in 1793's cheering mobs or 1977's whispered rumours. You stand in Marseille's dawn, the prison looming like a forgotten prop from history's stage. The guillotine's last act, unseen, still feeds that primal urge for drama. Modern analogy. It's like a viral video no one admits to watching, yet everyone knows the plot. As Star Wars sells hope, this execution sells dread, a final bow for a machine that starred in France's bloodiest show. Tell us in the comments what's more unsettling, the crowds of old or the silence of 1977. It's 1977 and the world split like a bad movie edit. You walk in Marseille's streets where the buzz of Star Wars, premiered May 25th, spills from cinemas, kids clutching X-Wing toys, dreaming of galaxies far, far away. Meanwhile, in Baumet's prison on September 10th, Hamida Jandubi meets the guillotine France's last execution, a blade from 1792 slicing through a year of disco balls and bell-bottoms. The contrast is absurd, lightsabers up, blades down, one a sci-fi fantasy, the other a grim reality. You smell the city's salt air, hear jukebox tunes, but the guillotine's shadow lingers like a glitch in history's code. Welcome to a year where hope and horror share the stage, a cosmic prank with a bloody punchline. Picture the scene theatres packed with fans cheering Luke Skywalker while in a prison yard the guillotine's 40-kilogram blade drops in silence. You're caught in the dissonance, a world chasing Jedi dreams, yet tethered to a medieval death machine. In 1977, France's modern punk rock blares. Concorde jets soar. Cold War tensions simmer, but this execution feels like a time warp. You smirk, it's like streaming a Viking raid on Netflix while coding an AI. Star Wars sells optimism, a future of heroes and hyperspace. The guillotine sells finality, a relic of justice that outlasted rotary phones. The irony stings while kids mimic Yoda. A real blade ends a life, no force required. This clash defines 1977's spirit. You see it in the era's excesses, disco's glitter, punk's rebellion, sci-fi's escape. Yet France clings to the guillotine, a nod to revolutionary ideals now as outdated as cassette tapes. Historical records show debates raging, abolitionists push to end it, traditionalists defend heritage. You roll your eyes, heritage. More like a horror flick stuck on repeat. The guillotine's last cut, hidden from view, mirrors 1977's obsession with spectacle, from blockbuster crowds to tabloid gossip about Jandubi's fate. You feel the era's pulse, hopeful, chaotic, grim, a year where humanity dreams big but can't shake its bloody roots. The guillotine's anachronism is the real spectacle. You imagine Marseille's streets alive with Star Wars posters while Chevalier the Executioner preps his blade in secret. It's a dark comedy, one world cheers for galactic battles. Another sharpens a 200-year-old killing tool. Modern analogy. Think of it as clinging to a cursed app while everyone else upgrades to Web 3. This segment ties to our theme, humanity's love for drama, whether in cinema's glow or a prison's shadows. You shudder picturing the blade's hiss against disco's beat. Tell us in the comments what's weirder, a guillotine in 1977, or a world too distracted by Jedi to notice you're in Paris, 1793 Place de la Révolution, where the guillotine's blade flashes like a grim lighthouse. The reign of terror is in full swing, heads rolling faster than gossip. Marie Antoinette, Robespierre, thousands more, blood soaking the cobbles like spilled wine. Fast forward to 1977, and that same machine born of revolutionary zeal claims its final victim, Hamida Jandubi, in Marseille. You feel the centuries collapse the guillotine's shadow, stretching from 1793's chaos to 1977's sci-fi dreams. Its legacy is a blood-stained thread weaving through France's history, like a viral relic of justice outliving empires and outlasting sense. Picture it, a 200-year-old death machine still sharp in a world of Star Wars and synthesizers. The guillotine's reign was relentless. You stand in 1793's crowd, the air thick with sweat and fear, as the blade drops a 3-second guillotine kiss that severs noble and peasant alike. Historical records count tens of thousands, executed 40,000 in the terror alone. Each death a spectacle, crowds roaring like they're at a gladiator match. You gag on the stench, blood rot, the sour tang of mob frenzy. By 1977, the crowds are gone, but the blade's still there, slicing in secret. You imagine Jandubi's neck in the lunette, the same wood that cradled kings. Sarcasm bites progress. Sure, if you count swapping public cheers for prison silence as a glow-up. This machine was France's grim celebrity. In the 19th century, it starred in executions across Europe, from Napoleon's enemies to anarchists. You picture scaffolds in town squares, blades gleaming like perverse trophies. By 1977, it's a relic, yet France can't let go, like clinging to a cursed vinyl record. The guillotine's efficiency, 40 kilograms, a clean cut, made it iconic, but its horror lingers in the detailed severed heads, some said to blink baskets brimming with gore. You shudder imagining 1977's Marseille, the blade's thud echoing while Star Wars fans cheer. Modern analogy, it's a viral video from hell looping through history's algorithm. The guillotine's shadow ties to our theme. Humanity's thirst for spectacle, from 1793's bloodlust to 1977's hidden horror. You feel its weight, a machine that turned death into theatre, then bureaucracy. France's delay in abolishing it until 1981 feels like a stubborn middle finger to modernity. You smirk, nothing says revolution like a blade older than your grandpa's radio. As Star Wars soul dreams, the guillotine's soul dread its long shadow, proof of our obsession with finality. Drop a comment, what's creepier, the terror's crowds or 1977's secret slice, September 9, 1977, Baumet's prison, Marseille. You're in Hamida Jandubi's cell, the air heavy with damp stone and despair, the kind that clings to your skin like cold sweat. The clock ticks toward dawn when the guillotine's blade will fall for the last time in France. Your heart pounds. The walls seem to close in their grey roughness, lit by a flickering bulb. Outside, Marseille hums with late-night revellers, some still buzzing from Star Wars screenings. Their dreams of Jedi heroics, a universe away from this grim reality. You're trapped in Jandubi's final hours, a murderer facing a medieval end in a year of disco and space fantasies. Sarcasm stings. What's more cinematic, a lightsaber duel or the blade's cold kiss? The cell reeks of mildew and fear. You imagine Jandubi shackled his breath, shallow eyes darting to the door where guards will soon drag him out. Historical records note his crime-murder torture of a young woman sealing his fate in a France, itching to abolish the death penalty, but not quite there. You hear the clank of chains, the distant drip of water, each sound a countdown to the guillotine's thud. No priest offers comfort, no crowd waits to cheer, unlike 1793's bloodthirsty mobs. The secrecy is suffocating like a horror film with no soundtrack. You smirk in 1977 while kids play with X-Wing toys. You're stuck in a prison cell, waiting for a blade older than your great-grandpa's radio. You picture Jandubi's thoughts regret defiance, or just numb dread. The guillotine looms in your mind, its lunette ready to cradle his neck, the basket waiting below. You feel the weight of his last meal untouched, the bread stale as his hopes. The executioner Marcel Chevalier preps nearby, his routine as clinical as a surgeon's. This isn't the reign of terror, it's a quiet, bureaucratic death, yet the horror's no less real. You gag on the thought a 40-kilogram blade polished to perfection will end it all in 3 seconds. Modern analogy. It's like scheduling a Zoom call with death, no reschedule option. The suspense grips you, each tick of the clock a step closer to the final drop. This night ties to our theme, humanity's obsession with spectacle, even in silence. You're in 1977, a year of galactic dreams, yet France clings to this grim ritual, a secret nod to its bloody past. The guillotine's last act feels like a glitch in time, a medieval ghost haunting a world of punk and polyester. You shudder imagining the blade's shadow over Jandubi's cell, while outside, Star Wars fans chase hope. Dark humour creeps in, surviving the Death Star's easier than this death trap. Drop a comment what's creepier, a prisoner's last night or a world that kept the guillotine alive until 1977. You're in a Marseille prison yard, 1977, staring at the guillotine, a machine so simple it's obscene. 2 wooden uprights, 7 feet tall, frame a 40-kilogram steel blade, its edge glinting like a cruel smile. The lunette, a wooden collar, waits to lock a neck Hamida Jandubi's come dawn. Below, a wicker basket, stained from decades of gore, yawns for its final catch. You hear the ropes creak, the faint hum of metal as executioner Marcel Chevalier tests the mechanism. This isn't sci-fi tech from Star Wars playing in theatres. It's a 1792 invention, still slicing in a year of Atari and bell-bottoms. You smirk, talk about a retro app for instant justice, no Wi-Fi needed. The guillotine's engineering is brutally elegant. You trace the blade's path, a 3-second drop, guided by grooved beams, severing spine with surgical precision. Historical records praise its efficiency, faster than an axe cleaner than a noose. In 1792, Dr. Guillotine pitched it as humane, a democratic death for all. You picture early tests, blades slicing through straw dummies, then cadavers, blood pooling like spilled ink. The smell hits you, iron rot, sawdust from the scaffold. It's a machine built for equality, yet its legacy is horror from the reign of terror's thousands to 1977's final cut. Sarcasm bites humane. Sure, if you call a head basket a spa treatment. Every detail screams precision. You imagine Chevalier oiling the ropes, checking the blade's edge, each motion a ritual. The lunette's wood is worn smooth, kissed by countless necks since 1793. You flinch at the math, 40 kilograms, 7 feet, 3 seconds, physics turned lethal. In 1977, while Star Wars dazzles with lightsabers, this machine's cold efficiency feels like a middle finger to progress. You gag on the imagery, blood sprays heads roll, the basket creaks underweight. Modern analogy. It's like a 3D printer for death, churning out finality while France debates abolition. The guillotine's design hasn't changed in centuries, a stubborn ghost in a world of disco and dreams. This machine ties to our theme, humanity's love for spectacle dressed as progress. You stand in the prison yard, the blade's shadow chilling your spine while Marseille hums with the 1977's optimism. The guillotine's mechanics, simple, brutal, mirror our knack for turning horror into routine. France kept it alive until 1981, long after Star Wars sparked hope. You laugh darkly, nothing says modern like a blade from the French Revolution. Tell us in the comments what's more horrifying, the guillotine's cold math, or its survival into the age of sci-fi. It's 1977 Marseille, and you're in a smoky Parisian cafe overhearing heated debates about the guillotine's fate. the air smells of espresso and Gauloise cigarettes, while newspapers scream about Hamida Jandoubi's execution, France's last on September 10th. Abolitionists led by figures like Robert Badinter argue the guillotine's a barbaric relic unfit for a nation rocking Star Wars, mania and disco beats. But traditionalists dig in clutching heritage like it's a family heirloom. You smirk traditions worth ahead. Apparently the guillotine, born in 1792 for humane deaths, feels like a cruel joke in a world of Atari consoles and punk rebellion. This clash progress versus past defines France's soul as it inches toward abolition in 1981. You picture the National Assembly lawmakers shouting over clinking wine glasses. Abolitionists paint the guillotine as medieval, its 40-kilogram blade a stain on France's human rights cred. You feel the tension like a horror flick building to a scream. Opponents argue it's efficient, cheap, and get this merciful compared to America's electric chair, which fries more than it kills. You gag on the logic mercy. Tell that to Jandoubi, whose neck met the lunette in Marseille's dawn. Historical records show public opinion splitting. Some want the blade retired. Others crave its grim spectacle. It's like arguing over a cursed app nobody should download yet. Some swear by its retro charm. The debate's roots run deep. You're back in 1793's Reign of Terror, where the guillotine churned through 40,000 lives, a bloody symbol of revolutionary justice. By 1977, it's a secret ritual hidden in Baumet's prison, but the stench of its legacy lingers. Imagine traditionalists romanticising the blade as if it's a vintage wine, not a death machine. Sarcasm bites nothing says liberty like a basket full of heads. The push for abolition, fueled by Badinter's fiery speeches, gains traction, but not fast enough. Jandoubi's execution proves it. You shudder picturing the blade's hiss while Star Wars fans cheer for Luke Skywalker. Modern analogy. It's like clinging to a dial-up modem in the Wi-Fi age, except this modem kills. This debate ties to our theme, humanity's obsession with spectacle, even injustice. You feel France's struggle caught between galactic dreams and medieval ghosts. The guillotine's defenders, clinging to tradition, mirror our love for dramatic finality, whether in 1793's mobs or 1977's tabloid buzz. Abolition comes in 1981, but in 1977 the blade's still king, a grim middle finger to progress. You laugh darkly. Progress more like a reboot of history's worst reality show. Tell us in the comments what's creepier, defending a guillotine in 1977 or pretending it's humane. You're in 1977, Marseille's streets alive with neon lights and punk anthems, the Sex Pistols blaring from record shops. Star Wars rules. Cinemas, its galactic hope, a stark contrast to the guillotine's final slice on September 10th, felling Hamida Jandoubi in Baumet's prison. You smell the city's salt air. Feel the pulse of a year defined by disco's glitter and Cold War dread. Yet the guillotine, a 1792 relic, steals the show, a blade more punk than Sid Vicious cutting through France's veneer of progress. This execution hidden from you echoes in the era's media, a grim counterpoint to sci-fi dreams and polyester swagger. It's like a horror vinyl spinning in a disco world. The guillotine's cultural shadow is inescapable. You flip through 1977's tabloids, their headlines whispering of Jandoubi's fate, feeding a morbid curiosity that rivals Star Wars fandom. Punk's raw rebellion, think Johnny Rotten, sneering mirrors the guillotine's defiance of modernity, a middle finger to a world chasing spaceships. You picture TV screens flashing Luke Skywalker's heroics while whispers of the blade's thud spread like a dark meme. Historical records note France's split psyche. Half the nation debates abolition, half savours the execution's drama, a throwback to 1793's bloodthirsty crowds. You smirk, nothing's more punk than a 200-year-old death machine stealing headlines. This clash feeds our theme, humanity's love for spectacle. You're in a cinema. Star Wars, lightsabers flashing, but the guillotine's ghost lingers its gore, a twisted twin to Hollywood's gloss. In 1977, media thrives on extremes, disco's excess, punk's rage, sci-fi's escape, yet the guillotine fits right in a real-life horror show. You imagine Marcel Chevalier, the executioner, as a grim rock star, his blade sharper than any guitar riff. Modern analogy. It's like a viral TikTok from hell trending while the world dances to ABBA. The guillotine's last act, though secret, fuels gossip, proving we're as hooked on death as on Darth Vader's mask. You feel the era's pulse hopeful, chaotic haunted. The guillotine abolished in 1981 is 1977's dark celebrity, its echo in media a nod to our primal urges. You laugh darkly while Star Wars sells rebellion with a happy ending. The guillotine delivers it raw, no credits rolling. France's love-hate with the blade mirrors our obsession with drama from Colosseum gore to blockbuster thrills. Drop a comment, what's wilder, a guillotine stealing 1977's spotlight, or a world too busy with Jedi to care? You're in Marseille 1977 inside Marcel Chevalier's modest apartment, the air thick with the scent of stew and cigarette smoke. By day he's France's last executioner, the man who dropped the guillotine's blade on Hamida Jandoubi September 10th, ending a centuries-old tradition. By night he's a husband, a father, his kids watching TV, while Star Wars mania grips the world outside. You hear the clink of dishes, the hum of a sitcom, but the guillotine's shadow lingers a family heirloom heavier than any photo album. Execution isn't just Chevalier's job, it's a hereditary trade passed down like a cursed app nobody asked for. Imagine that while kids dream of Jedi Knights, this family's legacy is a blade that cuts lives short. Picture the Chevalier household, ordinary yet surreal. You see Marcel at the dinner table, his hands steady from sharpening blades, now passing bread to his wife. His father was an executioner, his uncle too, a lineage of grim artisans dating back to the Revolution. The guillotine, born in 1792, is their family business. Each generation trained to oil ropes, test the lunette and stomach the blood. You flinch at the thought family reunions must be a riot, swapping stories of clean cuts over wine. Historical records confirm this dynasty executioners like the Sansons who guillotined Louis XVI passed the trade to sons like a butcher's apron. In 1977, Marcel's the last his craft as outdated as a flip phone in a world of Star Wars tech. The domesticity clashes with the horror. You imagine Marcel's kids oblivious playing in a home where their dad's toolbox holds death's blueprints. The guillotine's maintenance, polishing a 40-kilogram blade checking ropes, happens in a shed, not a corporate office. You smell the oil, feel the cold steel, and sense the weight of a job that's both mundane and monstrous. Dark humour creeps in. It's like inheriting a haunted Etsy shop, except the product is finality. While Marseille pulses with disco and sci-fi, Marcel's life is a time warp tethered to 1793's blood-soaked scaffolds. You shudder picturing him kissing his kids goodnight, then prepping for Jandoubi's dawn execution. This family trade ties to our theme humanity's obsession with spectacle even in private. The Chevaliers embody a paradox, normal folks running a death machine while the world chases galactic dreams. You laugh darkly, nothing says family values like a guillotine in the shed. In 1977, as France debates abolition, Marcel's role feels like a glitch. A medieval ghost in a polyester era. Drop a comment, what's creepier, a family of executioners, or a world that kept their trade alive until Star Wars hit theatres. You're in a 14th century French village, the air thick with mud and fear where beheadings are a public affair. No guillotine yet, this is pre-1792 when executioners wielded axes, often dull hacking through necks like butchers botching a roast. You hear the victims scream, the crowds roar, blood spraying like a grim fountain. Fast forward to 1977 and the guillotine born to fix this mess claims Hamida Jandoubi in Marseille its final act. The contrast is stark medieval chaos versus clinical precision, yet both feed humanity's hunger for spectacle. You smirk progress. Sure, if swapping a rusty axe for a 40-kilogram blade counts as a glow-up, picture a medieval execution. The condemned trembling kneels on a scaffold, the executioner's axe missing once twice, bone crunching like splintered wood. You gag on the stench, blood, sweat, the crowd's unwashed fervour. Historical records describe botched beheadings, heads half-attached crowds jeering as pain drags on. The guillotine, introduced in 1792, was meant to end this horror, its 3-second drop, a humane fix. Imagine Dr. Guillotine's picture quality and death, no more suffering. Yet in 1977, that same machine, now a relic, slices Jandoubi while Star Wars plays in theatres. Sarcasm bites humane, tell that to the basket, catching heads like grim laundry. The guillotine's roots are medieval, its soul just as brutal. You see 1793's reign of terror, the blade dropping thousands of times, echoing those early scaffolds. By 1977 it's a secret ritual, but the horror's unchanged blood pulls the lunette locks tight. You feel the scaffold's splinters, hear the blades hiss, a sound sharper than any Jedi lightsaber. The guillotine was progress, yet it carries medieval dread, a machine that turned death into a show, then a bureaucracy. Modern analogy. It's like upgrading from a floppy disk to a guillotine app still coded in cruelty. France's delay in abolishing it until 1981 feels like clinging to a cursed relic. This ties to our theme, humanity's love for spectacle, from medieval mobs to 1977's hidden blade. You stand in Marseille imagining Jandubi's neck in the lunette, a scene rooted in centuries of the gore. The guillotine's upgrade from axes didn't erase the horror, just polished it. You laugh darkly, nothing screams modern like a blade from the Middle Ages. Tell us in the comments what's more chilling, medieval axe mishaps, or a guillotine still chopping in 1977 Marseille. September 10th, 1977. You stand outside Beaumet's prison, the dawn air sharp with sea salt and silence. No mob gathers, no cheers erupt as Hamida Jandubi faces the guillotine's final slice. The world's too busy with Star Wars fever, kids clutching X-Wing toys theatres, glowing with Jedi dreams to notice this hidden execution. You feel the eerie quiet, a stark contrast to 1793's Paris, where crowds swarmed Place de la Révolution, picnicking as heads rolled. In 1977, France bans public executions, locking the guillotine behind prison walls. You smirk, progress sure, if swapping roaring mobs for ghostly silence counts. This is history's creepiest mute button pressed while disco beats pulse outside. Rewind to 1793. You're jostled in a Parisian crowd, the air thick with sweat and bloodlust. The guillotine's blade flashes, severing necks as spectators cheer like it's a twisted festival. You gag on the stench, rotting fruit, unwashed bodies, blood pooling on cobbles. Historical records describe thousands flocking to see Marie Antoinette's head fall. Kids perched on shoulders, vendors hawking snacks. It was theatre raw and brutal. Humanity's hunger for spectacle laid bare. Now, in 1977, you're alone outside Beaumet's. The blades thud, muffled by stone walls. The silence is heavier than any roar pressing on your chest like a cold hand. You imagine Jandubi's neck in the lunette, no eyes watching but yours. This absence of a crowd is its own horror. You picture the guillotine's 40-kilogram blade polished by executioner Marcel Chevalier dropping in secret. The lack of witnesses doesn't erase the gore, it amplifies the dread like a horror flick with the sound off. In 1977, France debates abolition, but the guillotine's last act feels like a dirty secret, a nod to medieval roots while Star Wars sells galactic hope. You laugh darkly, nothing says modern like a 200-year-old blade working overtime. Modern analogy. It's like live streaming a ghost story to an empty chat, the horror real but unseen. The crowd's gone, but humanity's morbid curiosity lingers whispering through Marseille's streets. This ties to our theme, humanity's love for spectacle even in absence. You stand in 1977's dawn, the prison looming like a forgotten stage, the guillotine's act hidden yet haunting. France's secrecy mirrors our knack for hiding cruelty behind progress, from 1793's mobs to 1977's tabloid buzz. You shudder imagining the blade's hiss, a sound no crowd hears but history feels. Drop a comment, what's creepier, the roaring crowds of old or 1977's silent slice you're in Paris, 1793 standing on blood-soaked cobbles in Place de la Révolution. The guillotine's blade gleams, a symbol of liberty slicing through necks, Marie Antoinette Robespierre, 40,000 others during the Reign of Terror. Fast forward to 1977 and that same blade now in Marseille's Beaumet's prison claims Hamida Jandubi France's final execution. You smell the iron tang of blood, feel the scaffold splinters as the guillotine stands as a twisted icon of revolutionary ideals. It's 1776's liberty with a body counter machine that turned justice into gore. You smirk, nothing screams freedom like a basket of heads, right? By 1977 it's a relic, yet its symbolism haunts clashing with Star Wars. Galactic hope. The guillotine was born to embody equality. You picture 1792 Dr. Guillotine pitching a humane death for all no more nobles' swords or peasants' botched axes. The blade 40 kilograms of steel drops in 3 seconds, levelling kings and commoners. You see the crowds of 1793 cheering as blood pools like spilled wine, the guillotine a stage for revolutionary theatre. Historical records note its symbolic power, a tool of justice yet a magnet for mob frenzy. In 1977 it's hidden, but the symbolism persists. France's stubborn nod to order while disco blares and Jedi fight. You laugh darkly liberty, more like a horror franchise with a killer logo. The blood tells the story. You imagine Jandubi's execution, the blades hiss, the basket catching what falls. The guillotine's legacy is soaked in gore from 1793's mass executions to 1977's secret finale. You gag on the imagery, heads, rolling eyes, blinking in myth-blood staining scaffolds across centuries. In 1977, France debates abolition yet clings to this symbol as if it's a vintage badge of honour, modern analogy. It's like branding your startup with a skull emoji edgy but a PR nightmare. The guillotine's symbolism, once revolutionary, now feels like a ghost haunting a world of punk and sci-fi dreams. This ties to our theme, humanity's obsession with spectacle dressed as ideals. You stand in Marseille 1977, the guillotine's blood-soaked past echoing in its final act. It's a symbol of liberty turned lethal, proof we love our drama bloody, whether in 1793's squares or 1977's tabloids. You shudder picturing the blade's shadow while Star Wars sells hope. Drop a comment what's wilder, the guillotine as liberty's icon or its survival into the age of Disco Marseille 1977 fades into memory. But the guillotine's last slice, Hamida Jandubi's execution on September 10th, casts a long, grim shadow. You're standing in 1981 when France finally bans the blade 4 years after its final use. The air feels lighter, yet the guillotine's myth lingers, a retired serial killer now haunting museums and horror tales. You picture its 40-kilogram blade once gleaming in Baumet's prison, now a dusty relic in a Paris exhibit. The stench of blood and fear clings to its legend, a ghost that outlives Star Wars. Galactic hype. You smirk abolishing it took until 1981. That's like unplugging a dial-up modem in the smartphone era, late but better than never. You imagine the guillotine's final years a machine out of time. In 1977, while kids clutched X-Wing toys and disco-ruled France debated its fate with figures like Robert Badinter pushing for abolition. Historical records show the vote in 1981 ending a practice born in 1792's revolutionary zeal. You feel the suspense each execution from the Reign of Terror's 40,000 heads to Jandubi's solitary end was a gamble on justice. The guillotine's legacy is its paradox sold as humane. It fed humanity's hunger for spectacle from 1793's cheering mobs to 1977's whispered rumours. You shudder picturing the lunette's cold grip, its wood worn by centuries of necks. Dark humour hits. It's like a blockbuster franchise that refused to flop. The myth endures in pop culture. You see the guillotine in films. Novels, even Halloween, props its blade a shorthand for dread. In 1977, Marseille's secret execution fueled tabloid buzzproof. We're still hooked on gore, whether in Star Wars battles or real blood. You imagine museum goers gawking at the blade, half horrified, half thrilled, like true crime fans binging a podcast. Modern analogy. It's a retired serial killer with a verified Twitter account still trending. France's delay in banning it mirrors our love for dramatic finality, a love that kept the guillotine alive while disco blared. You feel its chiller machine that starred in history's darkest show, now a ghost we can't unsee. This ties to our theme, humanity's obsession with spectacle even after the curtain falls. You stand in 1981, the guillotine gone, but its myth alive, a reminder of our bloody past. It's a relic of liberty that cut too deep, haunting France, long after 1977's sci-fi dreams. You laugh darkly, retiring a death machine shouldn't feel like cancelling a Netflix show, but here we are. Tell us in the comments what's creepier, the guillotine's museum afterlife or the fact it took until 1981 to pull the plug. It's 1977 and the world's a kaleidoscope of chaos and glitter. You're in Marseille where the Guillotine claims Hamida Jandoubi on September 10th, but the globe spins on Star Wars storms, theatres disco pulses through Studio 54, and punk snarls with the Sex Pistols' God Save the Queen. You smell the city's sea breeze, hear ABBA's beats from the passing car, yet the Guillotine's blade cuts through the noise, a medieval ghost in a polyester world. Cold War tensions simmer. USSR and USA flex missiles while France clings to a 1792 death machine. You smirk nothing, screams 1977 like chopping heads while dancing to Stayin' Alive. This global stage is electric excessive. You picture New York's disco scene, sequined dancers twirling under mirror balls oblivious to Marseille's grim ritual. Punk rebels in London spit defiance, their anarchy echoing the Guillotine's revolutionary roots. Star Wars sells galactic hope, but in Baumet's prison, a 40-kilogram blade delivers finality. Historical records note 1977's split vibe. Optimism space exploration dreams meets dread Cold War fears. France's guillotine used until this year feels like a system error, a glitch from 1793's Reign of Terror. You laugh darkly, it's like running a Windows 95 on a spaceship, outdated yet deadly. The guillotine's place on this stage is absurd. You imagine Marcel Chevalier executioner sharpening his blade while the world chases sci-fi fantasies. France debates abolition, but traditionalists defend the guillotine as heritage, like it's a vintage vinyl worth keeping. You gag on the irony, heritage more like a bloody rerun no one asked for. The era's excesses, disco's glitzpunk's rage, Cold War paranoia mirror our love for spectacle, the same hunger that fueled 1793's cheering mobs. In 1977, the guillotine's secret act still feeds the craving its thud, a grim counterpoint to Star Wars, lightsabers. Modern analogy. It's a viral video from hell trending while the world grooves. This ties to our theme, humanity's obsession with spectacle from global stages to prison yards. You stand in Marseille, the guillotine's shadow clashing with 1977's neon glow. It's an outdated system like France forgot to upgrade from behead.x. You shudder picturing the blades drop while disco balls spin. Tell us in the comments what's wilder, a guillotine in 1977's global party, or a world too busy dancing to notice you're in Marseille, 1977, imagining the guillotine's cold steel, its 40-kilogram blade poised to drop on Hamida Jandoubi France's last execution on September 10th. This machine, born in 1792 for humane deaths, is just one tool in history's grim arsenal. You picture other execution methods, America's electric chair sparking like a faulty wire, Britain's noose snapping necks with a sickening crack, or medieval breaking wheels crushing bones like dry twigs. The guillotine's clean cut seems almost polite, a 3-second snip compared to the chair's sizzling torture. You smirk, choosing a death tool in 1977. It's like picking a poison on a deadly menu while Star Wars fans cheer for lightsabers outside. The electric chair used across the Atlantic is a horror show. You imagine a prisoner strapped in electrodes, buzzing the air, reeking of burnt flesh as jolts misfire, sometimes cooking victims alive. Historical records note botched executions, men screaming, chairs smoking, making the guillotine's blade look like a mercy. You gag on the thought mercy. Tell that to the basket, catching Jandoubi's head. The noose phased out in Britain by 1965 wasn't kind but miscalculated drops left men strangling slowly, legs twitching like a grim dance. You hear the ropes creak, feel the crowds hush. The guillotine's efficiency slice thud done stands out, but its clinical vibe chills you, a death machine outliving disco. Medieval methods were even worse. You're in a 14th century square watching a breaking wheel pulverise a body bone, snapping like firewood crowds, cheering as if at a twisted fair, or burning at the stake, flames licking flesh, screams piercing the smoke. The guillotine, by contrast, was pitched as progress, yet in 1977 it's a relic slicing Jandoubi while Star Wars sells galactic hope. You laugh darkly, progress more like swapping a sledgehammer for a scalpel still bloody. Modern analogy. It's like choosing between a dial-up modem and a guillotine app, both outdated, both brutal. France's blade, used until 1981, feels like a stubborn middle finger to modernity. This ties to our theme: humanity's love for spectacle even in death's tools. You stand in 1977's prison yard, the guillotine's shadow looming its efficiency the dark mirror to our obsession with clean, cruel ends. Each method blade chair noose feeds our craving for drama, from medieval mobs to 1977's hidden horror. You shudder picturing the blades drop while disco beats thump. Tell us in the comments what's creepier, the guillotine's cold precision or the world's grisly menu of death. You're in Barmet's prison, Marseille, September 10th, 1977, facing the guillotine's shadow. Hamida Jandoubi, a 28-year-old Tunisian immigrant, awaits the blade. His crime sealing his fate, the brutal murder and torture of a young woman, Elizabeth Bousquet, in 1974. You feel the cell's damp chill, hear the chains clank as guards prepare him for France's last execution. The air is heavy, not with Star Wars. Galactic hope, but with a grim finality, the guillotine's lunette ready to cradle his neck. You're caught in the moral weight. His acts were monstrous, yet the blade's cold justice feels like a ghost from 1792. You smirk justice, or just history's darkest rerun playing while disco spins. Jandoubi's crime is chilling. Historical records detail his violence, luring Bousquet, a former lover, to his apartment where he tortured and killed her, a crime so heinous it shocked Marseille. You imagine her screams, the blood on the floor, the betrayal's sting. His trial splashed across 1970s tabloids, fed public outrage demanding the guillotine's return from its dusty shelf. You stand in his cell picturing his defiance or dread as dawn nears. The blade. 40 kilograms of steel waits to drop in 3 seconds, a punishment as clinical as his crime was chaotic. You gag on the irony while Star Wars fans cheer for heroes. You face the blade's shadow, justice cloaked in horror. The moral haze thickens. You're torn. Jandoubi's guilt is clear, but the guillotine's medieval vibe feels wrong in 1977, a year of punk rebellion and sci-fi dreams. France debates abolition, yet the blade falls a nod to order in a world of bell-bottoms. You hear the lunettes creak, imagine the basket's wicker stained with blood. This isn't 1793's reign of terror. It's a secret act, yet the spectacle lingers in whispers, tabloids buzzing like modern true crime forums. Modern analogy. It's like a viral Reddit thread, equal parts outrage and fascination trending while the world dances. You shudder, is this justice or just a bloody show? This ties to our theme: humanity's obsession with spectacle even in judgment. You feel the prison's weight, the guillotine a mirror to our love for dramatic ends, from 1793's mobs to 1977's hidden blade. Jandoubi's crime and punishment blur into one grim tale proof. We crave closure no matter how gory. You laugh darkly. Nothing says 1977 like a blade stealing the spotlight from Jedi. Tell us in the comments what's more unsettling, Jandoubi's crime or the guillotine's final bow. It's 1981 Paris, and you're in the National Assembly, the air buzzing with cigarette smoke and righteous fury. France finally bans the guillotine 4 years after its last cut, Hamida Jandoubi's execution on September 10th, 1977. You feel the weight lift like unplugging a cursed machine that's been running since 1792. Robert Badinter, the abolitionist firebrand, rails against the blade's barbarity, his speeches slicing sharper than the 40-kilogram steel that once dropped in Marseille. You smirk, tradition's worth ahead, they said in 1977, yet here we are, finally hitting delete on history's grimmest app. In a world of Star Wars sequels and synth-pop, France's late reform feels like a stubborn middle finger to progress. Rewind to 1977. You're in Marseille, where Jandoubi's execution sparked whispers and cafes, tabloids milking the gore, while Star Wars fans cheered Jedi dreams. Abolition debates raged. Badinter argued the guillotine's medieval roots clashed with human rights, while traditionalists clung to it like a bloody heirloom. You picture lawmakers shouting their voices drowned by disco beats outside. Historical records show France's delay despite public pressure. The blade stayed legal until 1981, outliving bell-bottoms. You gag on the irony. A nation of liberty kept a death machine alive while Luke Skywalker fought for hope. It's like clinging to a VHS tape in the streaming age. except this tape kills. The abolition vote is a turning point. Imagine Badinter's words, painting the guillotine as a stain on France's soul, 40,000 heads in the Reign of Terror, countless more over centuries down to Jandubi's lonely end. You hear the lunettes creak, smell the blood-soaked wicker, and feel the suspense. Will France finally let go? The 1981 law passes, banning capital punishment, and you exhale, but the blade's shadow lingers. It's a victory tinged with guilt. Why did it take so long, you laugh darkly? Progress. More like a horror flick, finally cancelled after a 200-year run. The guillotine's end marks a shift, but its legacy haunts proof of our love for dramatic finality. This ties to our theme, humanity's obsession with spectacle even in reform. You stand in 1981, the guillotine retired, yet its ghost fuels debates a reminder of our bloody past. France's late abolition mirrors our knack for clinging to cruel systems, from 1793's mobs to 1977's secret slice. You shudder picturing the blade's last drop while synths play. Tell us in the comments what's creepier, France's delay until 1981, or the guillotine's long reign as justice. You're in a Paris museum, 2025, staring at the guillotine's blade, its steel dulled but heavy with history. It last fell in 1977, claiming Hamida Jandubi in Marseille, France's final execution. The air smells of wax and dust, but you feel the ghost of 1792 when the guillotine was born to humanise death. Now it's a relic, gawked at by tourists like a horror prop from a bygone era. You picture its final act, blood pooling the lunettes creak while Star Wars played in 1977. Theatres a clash of medieval dread and sci-fi hope. You smirk, it's like a TikTok of terror still trending long after its last drop. The guillotine's afterlife thrives in culture. You see it in films, dramatic blade drops in period dramas, novels spinning tales of the Reign of Terror's 40,000 heads, even Halloween props mimicking its chill. In 1977, Jandubi's execution was secret, yet tabloids buzzed, feeding our morbid fascination, not unlike Star Wars fans craving epic battles. You imagine museum goers snapping selfies with the blade, half thrilled, half horrified like true crime junkies. Historical records note its enduring myth, a humane machine that became a symbol of gore, from 1793's cheering mobs to 1977's hidden horror. You shudder, its ghost is louder than disco's beat. This afterlife ties to our theme, humanity's love for spectacle. You feel the blade's chill, its legacy, a mirror to our obsession with drama, whether in 1793's blood-soaked squares or 1977's whispered rumours. France kept it until 1981, a stubborn nod to justice while the world chased galactic dreams. Modern analogy. It's a viral ghost story haunting pop culture like a cursed meme. The guillotine, once liberty's icon, now lives in our nightmares, proof we can't resist a bloody show. You laugh darkly. Retiring a death machine shouldn't feel like cancelling a cult classic, but it does. Tell us in the comments what's wilder, the guillotine's museum glow or its 1977 cameo in a sci-fi world. Reflect on this. The guillotine's ghost reminds us of our primal urges, linking medieval brutality to modern thrills. From Marseille's prison to museum glass, it's a relic we can't unsee, tying segment 1 to our collection's heart. Humanity's dance with the bizarre. Hey you there, settling in for a quiet night. Picture this, a soft hum from a fan in the corner, the world outside fading to a whisper. Tonight we're diving into a story that's tender, raw and real, the long often hidden journey of people born with Down syndrome. From ancient firesides where their presence sparked wonder to modern streets where their voices rise, this tale is about how humanity has stumbled, learned and grown. It's not just history, it's a mirror showing us who we are and who we could be. So grab a blanket, dim the lights, and let's wander through time together. Oh, and if you're vibing with this, hit that like button, subscribe and drop a comment. Where are you tuning in from and what's the clock saying? I love knowing who's out there sharing this moment. Long before science named it, before anyone scribbled Trisomy 21 in a textbook, there were just people, mothers, fathers, neighbours, watching a child who moved a little slower, smiled a little wider. Imagine a dusty village maybe 500 years ago, where the air smells of wood smoke and damp earth. A child is born, their face softer eyes, almond-shaped, their giggle a quiet melody. No one knows why they're different, but they're here cradled in the arms of a family who doesn't need a diagnosis to love them. We don't have their stories written in clay or stone, but we have something better, their graves. In France, archaeologists found a child from the 5th century, laid to rest with care, their small bones tucked gently among others in a sacred plot. Not cast out, not shunned, but honoured as if to say, "You were one of us." That burial whispers across centuries acceptance wasn't all